A leader in the Australian interior design industry, Alex Hopkins is a multidisciplinary talent in the field. Since launching her award-winning design practice Studio Tate just over a decade ago, in her role as director, Alex has grown the studio into a thriving hub of creativity across multiple sectors. A natural connector, she brings together a talented team of designers along with a strong network of clients and collaborators. She is an energetic advocate for the business of design and a driving force behind Studio Tate's development and strategic direction. Alex believes in design as a force for good, a belief reflected in the studio's growing portfolio of pro bono and social impact work. As a direct and empathetic leader, Alex continues to look to the future, pushing the boundaries of pragmatic and value-led design. Alex, welcome to Her Design, Her Story. It's great to see you today. One of the greatest things I admire about your work and having followed your journey since you started Studio Tate was your strength of vision and the clarity in the work that you do. I feel like your evolution from study to work's been very considered and quite intentional, which I think is quite unique, and that's the way I sort of mentally operate a little bit as well. Going back to the beginning of your design journey, what was your study background and what drew you into interior design specifically?
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for having me today. I finished Year 12 and went straight to university. I studied interior architecture at Monash Uni in Caulfield, which was close to home, but also felt like the right course for me based on its balance of conceptual work but also practical knowledge and training as well in terms of buildability, construction, documentation. I think for me, I was always going to end up in design or architecture, interior design or architecture to be specific, because my father worked in property and I still recall every now and then on a Saturday morning being at one of the display suites for a multi-res project that he was doing at the time and, sitting on the toilet that wasn't plumbed and experiencing those sales suites and just being immersed in floor plans and, built form environment. Yeah. One of my workplace work experiences was at Hable Architects. So Dad did a lot of work with Len Hable and Rob Stent when it was Hable Leonard Stent, now Hable. And I was really fortunate to have Len Hable as a mentor throughout my career. So I met the Hable team when I was, circa Year 7, Year 8, and I knew that office very well. So I think for me, being drawn into interiors and architecture was a sort of a predestined fate for me.
Yeah. Well, often I find with a lot of creative work as well, a lot of it is from, you're often inspired by people around you, whether it's family or friends or, which I think is really interesting. So on graduating, you've worked for some really notable Melbourne designers, which is really exciting, including Carr, Hassel, Jackson Clement Burrows and Allenberg Fraser. What was your first postgraduate job, and was there any key mentor that sort of helped you through that process? Yes, okay. First postgrad job, I worked as a student at Carr Design, and then when I graduated I stayed there for a number of years. I have said before I feel like I grew up on Flinders Lane in that office, which is above Cumulus. Cumulus wasn't there at the beginning, but I feel like for me I kind of went from you're not a teenager when you finish uni obviously, but I feel like I really was able to mature and I have formed some phenomenal friendships during my time at Carr. So that was my first postgrad position, and I was fortunate to go from a graduate designer through to a senior designer working with Sue and the team there. So I worked most closely with now a long-standing friend of mine, Dan Cox, in the commercial workplace team. I think having that experience and working with Sue, not that Sue and I necessarily crossed over on a lot of projects, but having a female
pioneer, for want of a better term. I mean, Sue Carr won an award just this year at the Property Council for something connected with being female and in the property industry. So I think having her as your leader, as my leader in my first role, was pretty pivotal for me.
Exactly, yes.
Annabelle Bradbury was also running interiors at Car Design at the time. So again, another female. So two really strong female leads in my early years of my career. And I feel really fortunate to have had those role models.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, because it could be quite varied in some of those work experience environments as well.
Yes.
So you have worked for these other architecture firms, and then you went out and started Studio Tate, which very impressively turned 10 last year. That's an amazing milestone. I feel like for me that's gone quite quickly. Yes. I remember speaking to you at an event when I think you were starting with your business. What was that decision process like, going from working for some incredible, big offices where there's obviously room for growth to deciding to start your own studio?
Yes. Out of the 4 places where I was really fortunate to work, all 4 places, I was, they're some of Australia's leading firms, and I was really lucky to work at those places. Car Design and Jackson Clements Burrows in particular hold a very special spot in my heart for me. They were really fun times in my career. Yeah. I mean, at Car, I think I was there for sort of circa 5 to 6 years, inclusive of being there as a student. And then at Jackson Clements Burrows, I was there for sort of 3 to 4 years. Yeah. And both were, as I mentioned before about Car, but both of those timeframes, I think I really matured and was challenged and grew as an operator in the industry. I remember, I mean, this is not necessarily answering your question, but I remember when one of my conversations with Len Hable, because I would also always catch up with Len whenever I was thinking of perhaps moving on or making a change with work. And I said, should I go? I think this was after my time at Hassel. And I said, should I contemplate going overseas? And his advice was, well, it really depends where you see yourself long term. Do you see yourself as someone who's generating work, who's leading a team, who might have ownership in something? Or do you see yourself more as a creative director, potentially? And for me, it was definitely the former. Yeah. I have known I've always wanted ownership in something, whether that was in a pre-existing business or something. To be honest, I hadn't contemplated starting my own studio. Yeah. It was always just ownership in something. Yeah. And his reasoning was that you can go overseas and get phenomenal design experience, but do you lose your contacts that you're forming and your personal brand here on the ground in terms of that network? Yeah. And I think that really resonated with me.
That's good advice.
Yeah, good advice. I mean, Len's he's a very measured individual, I would say.
Sometimes that's good. Yes. Instead of, I'd say, just get on the plane and go overseas. But sometimes it's that longevity of what
and
you're trying to
he knew me very well. So he knew what the right advice was. So the reason for starting Studio Tate was because I couldn't find somewhere that I loved where they were ready for that succession discussion at the time that I really wanted to have it. And I was very clear that I wanted ownership in something before sort of 30 or early 30s. I was really keen to have hit that milestone before starting a family. Yeah. So for me, it was really important, having progressed to a senior role and into associate positions, that I really needed that equity piece. Yeah, and that was why Studio Tate started.
I think that's really interesting. So currently your role is director of Studio Tate. What does your business structure look like around you? I think you've got about 15, 20 staff.
Yes, we're a team of 20 as of today, which is so fabulous. And in fact, I was just texting the leadership team on the weekend. I think I just said we are so lucky with our team at the moment. We have a phenomenal mix of individuals. Everyone is quite unique. They all get along. And it is a privilege to come to work every day with them. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. There is myself and the leadership team. So there is Anita, Emily and Liz, who are all associate directors. We've recently welcomed Virginie into an associate role, which is wonderful. And then we have 3 other senior leaders, all female. So we are.
Yeah, it's impressive.
We are 100% female-led,
yeah.
actually. But we do have some blokes in the team as well, and there certainly will be, I'm sure, opportunity, and I hope that they will also progress into senior roles.
Yeah.
Just at the moment, we are female-led. And so beyond the senior designers, then it is a mix of designers from student right through to, intermediate levels in terms of designers. And then Tracy, who's our studio manager, we're currently recruiting for someone in marketing, and then Fiona, our accountant. So it's a really great group of people. We have a lot of fun.
Yeah, which is key as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, one of our past team members, she holds a very dear spot in my heart. She's currently at Hector Guthrie. She's a fabulous operator. Jackie, we had one of our Christmas parties, a competition to name 2 things that we do regularly in the studio, our Monday morning resourcing meeting and our once a month Wednesday sort of design conversation. She won the prize for Designers at Niners, which is our Monday meeting, and Designers and Winers, where we have a glass of wine and talk all things design. Yep. But, even this morning we had a few laughs at, Designers at Niners. So, it's important. This industry is phenomenal, but it can be high pressure at times. So it's really amazing that everyone is good mates, that they've got friendships within the studio, that support, and that when the pressure does come off a little bit, we do, make sure that there's a bit more balance, I suppose. But ultimately what binds us day in, day out is the capacity to have a laugh.
Which is important, I think, particularly in design. It's so collaborative. I know from my time working in studios, made some incredible friendships, which still have today, and I think they are really key in that sort of sense of collaboration as well. Much of your work is really beautifully defined in the streams of live, work and play. I really like that way it sort of operates. I think that's really clever. But alongside these genres, you also do a lot of pro bono work, which I think is really incredible, and obviously a really important part of your ethos as well. What was the driver behind this, and how do you sort of select who you're working with in that process?
Our first pro bono project was actually for Jean Hale's Centre for Women's Health, and we did some work, unpaid work initially, and then we were engaged to do some low bono work as well for the same organisation. And the reason that came about was actually through a connection. A school friend of mine, her grandmother was Jean Hale's.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So my friend Lucy approached me. Her mum was still acting CEO at the time, and they said that they needed some help with their location out at Clayton. And so we jumped onto it and we helped. And we were a young studio. We were only probably circa 12, 18 months old. Yeah. But I think for me, there was an opportunity to see, hey, there's a whole group or a whole group of businesses, not-for-profit organisations, a whole load of people who work in this sector that don't necessarily have access to good design. Now, Jean Hale's is medical, and everyone that works there is paid for their role. So, but we did, as I said, part of our work at pro bono and then low bono rates. What then grew from there was a connection with a project manager. They were doing some pro bono work, and we were asked to help predominantly with female-focused health groups. That's where it started. And it's not something that when we started the business that I intentionally thought would be kind of our fourth pillar, but it has just grown organically alongside our live, work, play portfolio, and the young team members get so much out of it. I get so much out of it. The vision for me is that we are a commercially viable studio, commercially sustainable, that we are able to donate a certain percentage of profit to pro bono to not-for-profit organisations through our pro bono work every year. That's the vision.
Which is amazing and really unique offering, I think.
I think many architects work in that space through competitions, whether it's low bono or pro bono. There are certainly groups. I know Mel at Studio Bright has done I'm not sure if I think it's a housing project for women perhaps experiencing homelessness or something along those lines. I think there's a clear path for architects who wish to contribute and give back. I don't know that there is for interiors, but there really shouldn't be it shouldn't be any different.
No.
So many organisations are working in the worst part of a building with no natural light and access, terrible furniture, for example.
Yeah.
Why can't we help? And sometimes all it is a colour palette and some recommendations with furniture. Sometimes the projects are quite small.
Yeah.
But our most significant, which was for the living room, was a much larger project, but that's ultimately the scale that we want to be doing.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. I think it's really interesting. A lot of your recent project work to me is very bold. It's purposeful. I love the layering of texture and a bit of colour in there as well. You can see a lot of thought goes into crafting something that's quite unique to each of the projects you're working on. What have been some of the recent inspirations that you and your design office look to when you're curating a new project? If there's a clear path, or do you sort of diversify depending on what the project is?
It can be quite diverse. We always have a strong creative narrative that drives every project, and that means that we get unique design outcomes for every client and every brief, which is really important to us. There's certainly design hallmarks, as you say, colour, texture, craft, that is relevant and binds all of the projects or brings them all together. But the creative narrative means that we have a unique design solution for each brief. Interestingly, there has been some commonalities across a few recent new projects, and we've been looking at local artists as a key theme, which is not necessarily a new concept. Many interior designers, I think, look to art or artists.
Be a different angle, a different thing that you take away from something.
So that's something that's been really relevant. One of our completed projects, which is getting a little bit of traction at the moment in publications, is the People's Coffee Cafe that we did at 440 Collins.
It's gorgeous.
So the narrative for that project was John Brack, Australian artist who depicted the businessmen and businesswomen of Collins Street once upon a time. So that was our narrative for that project. And another one that we're doing in Adelaide has also been inspired by a local artist. And then often site context is another key theme for us that we draw inspiration from. So a project that we're working on down at Mount Eliza, for example, we've looked to the shoreline and to that natural landscape for inspiration and looked to translate that into built form.
What other projects, have you got any other exciting ones on the drawing? I'm sure you've got a few exciting ones on the drawing board, but are there any key projects that you're sort of focused on at the moment?
We're really fortunate because we've got so many fabulous ones. If I pick something from perhaps the live, work, play, one from each, if I can. In our live sector, the seniors living and retirement living work that we're doing is really exciting, and I think redefining that sector in terms of an aesthetic outcome for that space. Those projects are a little way off completion though. So in terms of something, they're much bigger projects. In terms of projects that will be nearing completion, we've got two really exciting residential projects in Western Australia.
Beautiful.
Which will finish, one will finish next year and one probably shortly the year after. In terms of our workplace portfolio, trying to think of what we can mention now that I've actually said that.
Okay.
We just finished Addison's in Sydney, which was great. We've just kicked off with the Executive Centre actually in Sydney for a refresh with them, which is super exciting.
Yeah.
And they're a global organisation, so we're thrilled to be part of their team and part of their journey. Yeah. And then for play, we're kicking off a new hotel project in Richmond. So
fun.
Yeah. And then our fourth pillar being community. We've just been in conversations with a new client. They found us through a connection of mine that they knew we worked in the pro bono space, and it will actually be a gallery space to amplify women working in the sort of art, recognising women in history throughout Melbourne and Australia in a creative sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what I shouldn't mention about that. Sorry, it's a bit vague. But that will be a really exciting project.
And obviously all across Australia as well, which is really, really interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
I know in line with Studio Tate, you have a very busy and involved life outside work. And I know we've touched on before that often in that creative space, particularly running your own business, those boundaries can be quite blurred. I know you have a young daughter as well. What does the structure of life outside the sort of office time. What does that look like for you? Or are you a bit like me? I sort of wing it a little bit week to week.
Yeah, it's totally wing it. It's a bit of a hot mess, I would say. There seems to be some method to the madness. My husband and I are both full-time.
Yeah.
My aspiration for next year, so our daughter will start prep next year, so big milestone. Aspirationally, I would like to aim to perhaps be working a little bit differently next year so that I'm able to be there at that earlier pickup time. At the moment, Elizabeth does a mix of kinder and childcare, so she has those longer days, and then 2-day sessional kinder where she does finish at 4. Our household wouldn't run each week without the support of my mum. Yeah. She's a huge influence in our household, or a pillar, I would say, of strength, support and stability.
That's amazing, yeah.
Yeah, so each week I think she's at our house at least twice helping in some capacity. We also have a couple of young girls who are at university who help us a lot as well. Steffi, for example, is doing the Tuesday pickup and, shower and dinner service for Elizabeth.
It's a bit like that, isn't it?
Yeah, so it is sometimes chaos.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's method to the madness. We're very fortunate that our daughter is resilient and she has a great sense of humour and seems to be happy to roll with the busy lifestyle that we have.
Yeah, I feel like it's sort of a modern conundrum for everyone, but I think it's really exciting, particularly as a mother and a female, having that role model. I've got 3 daughters. Looking to the girls, and they can see for us at home, it's sort of equi measure of people working and doing things at home.
Absolutely, and I think I'm very fortunate. I've mentioned a number of women who are supportive in our household, but ultimately my husband Tom, he's also absolutely very present in terms of parenting, which wasn't necessarily the case when we were younger.
No, it's shifting.
It has shifted. Yeah. It's still tricky, I think, but he has the capacity with his work to do a day or 2 at home, which does mean he can help with a pickup, which means that I can get to an industry event, which is great because I love being out and seeing friends, past friends and colleagues at events. And he picks up the slack then. He does the pickup, but then he's back online later. Yeah. So it is being flexible and knowing that it's not a 9 till 5. It does bleed a little bit, but we love being able to get home and sit with Elizabeth while she has dinner and be present for story time and then pick up that last hour or so once she's in bed perhaps, So I think for me it's definitely mum, it's Tom, it's the babysitters, but it's also having a phenomenal team in the studio as well.
Exactly. We're thinking ahead sort of in the next 5 years. Obviously, as I mentioned, Studio Tate turned 10 last year, which is incredible. It's amazing. Have you got any sort of midterm goals for that time of how you would like to see your studio operating, or is it sort of, I feel like you'd have step 2 in place? Yeah. Is it sort of evolving the work, the size of your studio, all of the above?
Certainly evolving the sophistication of the projects, which I think we feel as a leadership team we're already on track and moving towards that. We'll always still want to do those smaller projects, like those little jewel box ones. Yeah. The project that I mentioned before at 440 Collins for People's Coffee, that was with Lend-Lease. It's not a massive footprint, that project, but in terms of the design outcome, it's certainly more sophisticated than what we were doing, say, 8 years ago. Yeah. So it's still about taking on the smaller projects, but being able to bring that next level of sophistication in terms of client management, response to brief, developing a unique solution, etc., all of the above. Yes. So absolutely evolving the work and the sophistication of the work that we're winning. We would like to grow the team a little bit, but not too much. Yeah. A key focus, what we're always talking about in our leadership teams is people development. For me, when starting the business, it was about having ownership in something for me personally, but being able to I mean, I feel like, as I said before, my time at CAR was so special because I grew up there and I have made lifelong friends. And if the team members at Studio Tate, past and present and future, can all have really strong lifelong friendships, that will be a huge achievement for me. Like, that would make me really happy.
Yeah.
And also what will make me really happy is knowing that I'd love for all of the people currently in our team to be growing into senior roles, but I'm also realistic. I know that people will move on for other challenges, absolutely, and move overseas for other experiences for sure. But having that longevity, that option for longevity within the studio, I think is really important for me personally.
And that sort of flexible, I think that's where it's really interesting, because you're obviously juggling that family life at home as well. I think if I was coming through the ranks of a design office, I'd be looking to, how those senior people are managing as well, and you can see actually it's feasible to have a career and keep progressing, which I think is really...
Absolutely. I mean,
really unique.
Everyone in our leadership team, myself, Anita, Em and Liz, who I mentioned before, we are all working mothers. It's not always smooth sailing.
Yep.
We are just at the moment embarking on a really exciting process, doing some leadership training. We know that you don't learn these skills at university.
No, it's quite. I often thought that it's fairly linear to a point, which I mean, is I guess fair enough when you're at university, but it's all those sort of people management,
totally,
collaboration,
absolutely,
time management,
all of the above,
the administration side of work,
all of the above, and we know that we want to operate. If we want to take on more complex projects, we need to be more sophisticated in our operation. I think given we're only 10 years old, we're already quite sophisticated. We're a team of 20. The leadership team in the last couple of years have really taken the studio to another level, which is amazing. But there's always room for more improvement. So that's what the process is that we're doing at the moment with leadership partners, which is super exciting. And then hopefully that means that we can harness the growth of the other team members as well, and be really well equipped to help others grow into senior positions.
I'm excited to see where you guys take things. It's been an amazing journey to watch. Before we wrap, it's time for her edit. So I'm going to throw some quick questions at you and see where you're at with a few life-related design things. What was the first design-related purchase you ever made?
Yes, I can remember that purchase quite distinctly. It was when I was moving out of home into a one-bedroom 70s brown brick walk-up flat in Prahran East, and I went to the Camberwell markets, didn't have a lot of cash, but I found a chocolate brown Planet, Australian designed and made Planet floor lamp.
Oh, amazing.
That was working for $5.
Oh, amazing. So, still got it?
Yeah, I still have it. However, I have just recently gifted it to one of the young team members in the studio who was keen to take it over.
Yep.
So my husband and I seem to have a thing with lamps. I have I've got lamps at Mum's house. I've got lamps at our place. I've got lamps in storage at the studio. Yes. So the brown Planet lamp has gone to Justin in our team.
Found a new home.
Yeah, it's found a new home. But I bought that when I was moving out of home. So I would have been, I don't know, sort of 2021 when I moved out sort of after uni, and I'm now 40. So I've had it for a good 20 years.
Yeah, so good longevity for $5. $5. What's been the latest design purchase or something you're coveting on a wish list?
Gosh.
I feel like we see so many things. I'm always coveting something.
So many things. I have my next significant purchase, I don't know what I'm coveting, to be honest. I will at some point need to buy a sofa, and I feel like that is just...
It's an investment.
It's an investment and a tricky purchase to get right. So that'll be 20... What year are we now? 25. That'll be 2026's challenge. Yep. So in about 6 months' time, finding a sofa. In terms of something perhaps more immediate, let's say, we've just moved into a rental and we're about to embark on a small build project. So I'm not necessarily purchasing anything immediately.
Yes.
Maybe an outdoor. I've got a little terrace and I need somewhere to sit outside. So an outdoor chair of some description. I don't know. I mean, it's a bit cliche, but I do like the hay palisades pieces, but yeah,
I do
we'll
have
see.
those.
Yeah. I feel like they're
A
just
safe bet.
a safe bet, a good basic. So maybe something along those lines.
How about a next travel destination, actual or aspirational?
Yes, actual.
That's exciting.
Yes, leaving early September, which
Yep.
is super exciting. It's a mix of work and personal. So
Yep.
I am really fortunate to be going on a study tour for some research on retirement living in the States. So going with a marketing group who we partner with on some projects. So 2 weeks through America.
Yep.
And then actually the girlfriend who I mentioned whose grandmother was Jean Hales, she's getting married in Provence. So then I'll meet my husband over there. So I feel very
well-deserved
fortunate.
break.
Yeah,
Yes.
I feel very fortunate that I'll have a few weeks of work and play ahead of me.
Amazing. Design faux pas you secretly love or love to hate?
Oh, I know, and I was prepped for this question, and I don't know what my answer is.
We've spoken about feature walls.
Yes,
as something that often comes up with interior.
Yes, yeah,
doesn't it?
I'm not a fan of a feature wall
No.
myself. I don't know what I feel like. In my early days, we did a lot of commercial design using, I don't know if it's a faux pas really, but primary colours. And I think possibly for me, even though that was very successful for some key
Palettes have
projects.
changed.
Palettes have changed. And Dan Cox and I won some wonderful workplace awards with those palettes back in the day. But I think probably not relevant for Studio Tate moving forward.
No,
I don't know if that answers the question exactly.
Yes.
But
how about a favourite creative icon, living or legend?
Living
Are there
or
any
legend?
designers that you've been drawn to?
Eileen Gray.
Oh, yes.
Yep. I think female, Charlotte Perriand.
Yes.
Those two are pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, really stood the test of time, their pieces.
Ray
haven't they?
Eames.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had a few Eames pieces over the years. Charles and Ray Eames, Herman Miller, we specify a lot of that in our commercial projects, and that's kind of been where my predominant, multi-res and workplace design has been where I've spent a lot of my time.
Yeah.
And I do love the Herman Miller stuff, given its capacity to work both commercially and residentially. Yeah, so maybe
Classics.
maybe those two, the classics.
Yeah. Final question. If your style was a celebrity, who would it be?
I did say I'm shocking with celebrities, so I feel like I'm so out of touch these days with who's who. I actually don't know how to answer that question.
It can be tricky.
Yeah,
Tricky. I feel like a classic.
a classic for me.
I feel like someone that stands the test of time.
Yeah, so who can we channel for that answer?
Well, I feel like an Audrey Hepburn or a Meryl Streep. Sophisticated.
Yeah. I'll take either.
Standing the test of time.
I'll take either of those.
Thank you so much for your time, Alex. It was great to chat to you on Her Design, Her Story. And lovely to catch up.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.